VHS files contain spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised. It's that time again to watch a movie and make some memories. We've got some fine new wheels, some good tunes, and a total disregard for public safety. I'm Josh, the king of urban surfing, and this is the VHS Files. All right, everyone, welcome back to the VHS Files podcast. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
I'm Josh. I'm your host.
I'm Jenny Lou.
Jason from Texas.
Eric.
All right, and tonight we're coming to you guys, and we're going to talk about another 80s classic. Again, we're going to set the scene. It's 1985. One of the common things that you would have heard going around the news around this time was Michael Jackson bought the rights to all the Beatles music for $47 million. And looking back on that now, holy shit, what a steal. Like,
It's crazy.
And like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm just going to buy all the Beatles music.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
But
I have $47 million in my back pocket. I got this.
yeah, it's like,
That's my Thriller money. I got this.
so I can only imagine how pissed off Paul McCartney was at that time. But so that was the big thing in the news around the time. Tonight we're talking about a movie that stars Michael J. Fox, and we're talking about Teen Wolf tonight.
For Michael J. Fox, life hasn't been easy.
Hi. I'm going through changes.
His voice is changing.
Give me a keg of beer.
Is there anything wrong with me?
He's got hair on his chest. He's stopped being a boy.
What do you think about to get worked up?
At last, he's become
Scott? Scott Howard? This is your father speaking. Now open this door right this minute.
a wolf.
An explanation is probably long overdue.
Dad, an explanation? Look at me. Look at you.
He's always wanted to be something special, but he never expected this.
Then everybody be so
Teen Wolf.
Woo!
He's got style.
There's something
So,
about you.
Teen Wolf came out on August 23rd, 1985. Was out there with it was made with a budget of 1.2 million. Ended up grossing 8 million at the box office altogether. So it was definitely considered a hit for the time.
80.
That's what I said. Did I say 8 or 80?
You said 8.
Oh, well,
You said 8.
80. Okay, so 80. Well, 8 would have still been, a success at that point.
That's good for 85 money.
Yeah.
But Michael J. Fox was doing this before Back to the Future. He actually got the job for Back to the Future on the set of Teen Wolf. And funny thing I found out was a lot of it was recorded in the same place, same locations and whatnot. Just kind of looking into the background of the movie production and all of that stuff. But again, just like Back to the Future, he was able to do Teen Wolf because he was making a big name for himself and becoming a household name with family ties. And the mother on the show, Meredith Baxter Birney, got pregnant. And whenever they were putting together everything for Teen Wolf, they were like, we want Michael J. Fox. And what's funny is, much like another movie that will happen in the VHS Files future, Eric Stoltz was considered for the part. It's like
That's funny.
Eric Stoltz.
He was in high demand.
Could not catch a break in 80
Eric
because
Stoltz has a dartboard with Michael J. Fox's face on it.
So, but they went to the producers of Family Ties and they were like, "Look, we want Michael," and they're like, "Okay, you can have him during the time Meredith Baxter Birney's having her twins, but you can only shoot with him during that time. Once she's back, we're back to production. You can't have him anymore."
Wow.
And then he also got the job for Back to the Future during the same time. So it was, if you were Michael J. Fox in this time, I cannot even imagine what this dude was.
You're busy.
Yeah, like he was. Like, I get anxious just thinking about it. I can't even imagine. He was like 25 at the time, 24, and he's got all this work going on. Like, I can only imagine what he was thinking in his head. Like, but from everything I've heard from the production of Teen Wolf and so on and so forth, everyone seemed to think that he was, very happy and was never kind of like a jerk on set or anything. With all the stuff he had going on, he was always very nice and courteous to everybody. So,
and that's a child actor that really kept his nose clean. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many that didn't from that era and from always. And guys squeaky clean for the most part.
Yeah,
he really didn't remember. I don't remember seeing him in the tabloid magazines at the checkout at the grocery store or anything like that. It was just all about how clean and wholesome he is. He was the perfect Midwestern kid type. He could be in any movie and play that character. He wasn't, hey, he's at so-and-so club with, getting coked up or anything. You never saw that about Michael J. Fox. He was like a straight arrow guy.
Yeah.
but he did portray that in movies. I remember Bright Lights, Big City. He was like a big cokehead in that movie. That's the only thing I remember from that one. But we can get into that one later down the road. But so look, any early childhood memories of Teen Wolf? Anybody in particularly, particularly remember when they saw it? What it was like? I mean, for Jason and I'm sure it was the werewolf aspect of it because we were big horror freaks and anything with werewolves was something we were into. But did you guys see it when you were little, or did you see it when you were later in life, Jenny?
For me, I don't have a really distinct memory of the first time I saw Teen Wolf. I think it was more like it was something that I watched with my parents, maybe. It wasn't a movie that I would like tape off TV and watch over and over, but we definitely did see it. I probably saw it like way later than it came out, but I think it was a family movie and I just didn't understand some of those parts that are not too family friendly.
So, do you think you were a teenager when you saw it, or like?
No, I think I was 10 or younger.
Anybody else?
I saw it as a kid, and me and Josh grew up watching anything horror because our family, our mom's dad, they all rented those movies. But I remember them renting it because we were all Michael J. Fox fans from Family Ties. And then here he is. Oh, cool. He's making a movie and he's dressed as a werewolf. All right. This has got to be great. So I remember, of course, I still did not see it in the theater. We did rent it. Later recorded it off TV like we all did. And I actually have a funny story about recording that my mom mentioned to me earlier. I kind of remembered it, but she mentioned it because she got called to the school for it. So this is pretty funny.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Jason's in trouble.
All right. Well, I had a English teacher that I got along with very well, and we were doing a Titanic documentary. And also growing up, this is where Titanic and Teen Wolf tie together. But it was a documentary of them just finding the Titanic. Check this out. It's funny. I'm sorry, guys. And I wanted to borrow this tape because I loved anything about the Titanic back then. Read all the Time magazines, the National Geographics. So she let me borrow it. And
I see where this is going.
This is a recorded tape, right? So I get home for the weekend and I watch it. She said, I need it back Monday. The next class needs to watch it. Okay. So, and in the same weekend, we also had a recorded tape of Teen Wolf. So I recorded, ended up watching Teen Wolf also because we watched it several times as a kid. Well, I grabbed the tapes. They were in the same identical box, everything, took it back. And I don't know if you guys remember when you're like in intermediate school, you had these homeroom classes. Well, my homeroom class was not her class. So I brought the tape back to her before school started. I'm in my homeroom class. I get a thing, Jason, you are needed in the principal's office. And I'm like, what did I do? And I was a pretty good kid. So I'm freaking out first time going to the principal's office. Get there, and there is this teacher. And I wish I could remember her name. I mean, it's been a long time ago. I wasn't in trouble. She was like, Jason, we need to call your mom. I'm like, what did I do? She's like, well, I pushed play on this tape, and we all got to see a werewolf playing basketball instead of Titanic. But the class was all like, yes, let's watch this instead. So, of course, mom got called. She brought the tape in, and then I got a little bit of a chewing when I got home. But, yeah, that's actually a very, like I said, I kind of remember getting in trouble, but my mom actually explained it to me. She said, yeah, I got called to the school because of that tape. So Teen Wolf did have a big part of your childhood at school.
Yeah.
So when they started the tape in the classroom, was it at the party scene?
No. Like I said, I think it was during one of the basketball scenes because they said I pushed play and it was a basket. It was a werewolf playing basketball. So it's like, oh, too bad it wasn't the part where certain characters eating Jello, not out of a bowl.
Right.
So I got lucky.
Rolling in whipped cream all over the
Or
floor.
rolling in whipped cream, yeah. So, but that's my childhood story of Teen Wolf. But yeah, I can't even count on fingers, toes, and whatever else how many times I've actually seen Teen Wolf over the years, along with anything that's affiliated with it. So.
I have a less
funny.
funny
Well,
story about tapes getting switched, but I'm not sure if that's maybe a tale for another time.
I'm sure we've got plenty of
At least
little
I'm not the
stories
only one
like
who
that.
did it. What about Eric?
Eric,
What
you got any early
I
memories?
I love Michael J. Fox too, from television and from, of course, Back to the Future. But I remembered almost none of this watching it this time. It wasn't a big movie for me, but I my only memories of it were the basketball stuff. All that other stuff was gone, except for maybe the surfing the car thing. I remember that, but yeah, I was. It was like watching it for the first time, honestly.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't really have any early memories. I remember watching it a lot as a kid, and it's funny. Like, it's one of those movies, especially with Michael J. Fox in that time, because he was in so much stuff, and he was good in pretty much everything he was in. But he had that, it's like you were saying earlier. He had that nostalgia. He had this presence. Everybody wanted him in their movies because of that. And it's funny to see where he went with some of those movies, but you get Back to the Future, you get this. But it's funny how this one can kind of get forgotten a little bit. I remember not too long ago, I swear it was my buddy Chris asked, because he said they were talking about it at work, but he said someone asked him, besides Back to the Future, what's your favorite Michael J. Fox movie? And like the first thing that came to my head was Doc Hollywood.
Me too.
Right.
And I know I've seen Doc Hollywood a few times, but I know I've seen Teen Wolf way more. Obviously, I'm a fan, and
He's wearing a shirt right now.
I'm wearing a Teen Wolf shirt at the moment. But it was so funny. Like I wanted to slap myself in the face because I was like, how did I not think of Teen Wolf? And I thought of this movie where he's a doctor in the middle of the woods somewhere. So, but and then shortly thereafter that I'm not sure, I don't remember when we found out that he had Parkinson's, and
right.
He kind of stopped being in movies and whatnot. But
I mean, I don't know the answer to your question, Josh, but I have a theory that it's maybe because this movie is kind of vulgar at times, and not such a family classic as Back to the Future, or even something as approachable for
I definitely
as Doc Hollywood, which is charming and funny, and this movie's a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, it's definitely a high school movie. And it could have been worse. I did hear they didn't have a commentary track on this one, so I didn't get to listen to any commentary on this one, but I did watch some of the making of and behind the scenes, and I found out that there was a lot of things that could have been different about this movie, and one of them was when they were picking directors. They wouldn't give a name, but they did say a high caliber director came in and was like, he's going to be doing this, and he's going to be going around and banging all the chicks, and it's going to be like Animal House with a werewolf and all this. And the guys,
well, Animal House does come to mind when you're watching parts of this,
and it's a clever Animal House. But anyway, so
He's here all week, folks.
but yeah, he but they wanted him to be very vulgar and having sex with all these girls, and I mean they even get into that in this version of the movie, but it could have been a whole lot more vulgar and whatnot. But surprisingly,
I almost in a way want it. I think it would have been better. I almost feel like it holds back a little bit. It's like if you're going to go that route, go all the way. I don't know.
It definitely plays up the fun 80s quirky comedy high school movie more than the raunchy one. But there's definitely some moments in this that we'll get into. So, but unless anybody's got anything, memory wise or something like that, we can get into kind of getting into the movie and
Well, I was going to touch on the director thing you were talking about. I read some more about the director, Rod Daniel. And they said, they were talking about these other directors when they brought him in. The people that, the producers and stuff, is like they said Rod Daniel actually understood it was more than just a werewolf movie.
Yeah.
It had a deeper meaning with, and we'll talk about those things shortly, about the whole coming of age, the father son, first love type thing like that.
Well, it's certainly a metaphor for puberty.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah. I think that's what werewolves is really. I think that's a lot of their metaphor period, is the changes in life.
Yeah.
Or your inner demons in a sense.
And I actually saw what you're touching on with that, Jason. I saw a little interview with the producers and the writers of this, and they said, they told them they could pick the director for this, and everyone they met with, there was these stories like the one I just touched on, but when Rod Daniel came in, he's like, this is the story of a father and son, and that's how they both intended the story to be when they wrote it. So that's why he got the job. And
I like that stuff in this.
Yeah. But what's funny is,
like, it's definitely there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think Eric touched on the puberty thing, and I feel like that's much more present than the father and son stuff in this.
Oh yeah, I think it is too. Even though it's underlying story, it's more of even a scene that we might talk about shortly, of somebody mentioning, "Hey, yeah, we all go through changes," And
yeah, I mean they spell it out pretty well in the coach's office.
Yeah, very much.
And I forgot a lot about this movie, but I like how we first scene we start getting some wolf hair.
Yeah,
he's got hair in places where he didn't have it before. And he's 15. So yeah,
is he
but we get right into
in this movie. Is he supposed to be?
I think they do say he's 15, don't they?
No, he's got to have a driver's license, so he's got to be at least 16.
Yeah, he'd at least be
right.
16.
That's right.
They don't really make clear like what grade he would be in.
And in true 80s, well, I guess you get some of this now too, but everyone in this movie is in their mid to late 20s, except for
I was going to mention
except for
that.
Michael J. Fox.
So the movie opens.
Who was 23 or 4.
Yeah, the movie opens on the first basketball game of the season. They suck. What's the score? 17 to 50 something.
It's terrible.
They got annihilated. But you get introduced to who's going to end up being the quote unquote big bad. One of them at least is Mick, the basketball player of the opposite team. It's quite obvious. It's quite obvious Mick is 33 years old.
Easily.
He did stay back a year though, because he went to jail.
Right?
Yeah.
They do address how. Yeah, he's in his mid 30s. Oh God.
So in the producer stuff that I was watching, they talk about Mick Arnold, the actor, and they said he just came in and had this presence and was perfect for that teenage role. I was like, the 80s must have been really different, because it's obvious when you look at this guy, he's in his mid 30s.
Yeah.
But that was very common in 80s movies.
Yeah.
You couldn't obviously.
I mean, even Spider-Man kid now is in his 20s when he started.
Right.
Very
What's his
true.
name?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tom Holland, the actor.
I'm on a movie podcast.
Yeah,
I'm on a movie podcast, and I don't know Tom Holland's name.
It's okay. We'll dock your pay later.
We're in the wrong decade, Eric.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then we move into the locker room. He's got hair where he didn't have hair before.
Just rips out that whole chunk like it's nothing.
Right.
Like
a 6-inch hair. It's huge.
Do that. Just like, oh, what's this? Like, that would hurt really bad.
It'd be like just wrapping up a handful of hair and just ripping it right out. Oh,
hey, Jenny, just reach over and pull one out of Josh to see how he reacts.
Yeah, mine are not as long as that either.
Yeah,
that was like a 6-inch hair of a whole group of them, and not that. It was like, okay, where's the blood?
Yep.
So.
Yep. It is weird that it was like fully grown out.
Yeah.
But I guess he can literally grow out his hair, and he does it like in the second, so off camera throughout the film. So that.
But I love the exchange with him and Chubb. It's funny. This is the second movie in a row we're talking about that has a fat kid character, and we're about to talk about another thing that happens in this movie that's very similar to the Goonies that we talked about last week.
Chunk and Chubb,
and then
no fat shaming
again.
Yep.
But I love the exchange between him, and he starts pulling all of the food. He's like, I can smell that liverwurst from over there. Oh, underneath these, and he shoves the socks in his face. It's like it's classic. Like that's some stuff you would do to a friend if he was going through your locker. Just shove some sweaty socks in his face.
Hey, these smell terrible. Here, let me shove them in your face.
And can't people just leave poor Chubb alone? Let him eat what he wants. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like really going in on him hard for all his treats that he squirreled away. Man, let him have a treat.
Let him have treats. I mean, I don't know how he plays so much basketball and
he's very athletic.
Lose weight because he turns it on at the end, but we'll get there.
Yeah, Amy plays basketball through high school. We find out he's a boxer in college. We'll touch on that later too. But
he has a big swimming pool.
But then we also meet Styles, who honestly is the backbone of the movie, if you ask me.
Oh, dude, I love
the
Styles.
actor that plays Styles is great, and learning what I learned in the production stuff from him. Again, he's one of those people that was cast because he is the guy. That's exactly how he was. That's what got him the part, and he is the one proprietor of this movie that will always he loves the fact that he was in this movie. You can tell in any interviews you've seen with him that he loves that he did this movie, and it's crazy to watch when you watch behind the scenes and stuff now where they're doing interviews with these people, because obviously Michael J. Fox, for whatever reasons, whether it's his disability he has now or just the fact that he's ready to leave all of that behind, because I did hear that he wasn't too happy with Teen Wolf after the fact, but I won't get into all that. But it's funny to see these movies that are highly regarded mainly because of the actor that's in them. But nowadays, when you want to showcase this movie and talk about it, that actor isn't necessarily interested in wanting to be a part of it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and some of the other people that haven't had such gigantic careers are, it's maybe their high point,
Right. And it's funny
whereas
because
he's got,
and
Back to the Future under his belt and Frighteners. And
they've got, they've all got nothing but good things to say about him now.
Spin City.
Spin City.
Hey, Frighteners was
Spin
a great
City was
movie,
good.
too. No,
Frighteners
Frighteners was good.
Yeah, I like Frighteners.
I've only seen Frighteners once. That'd be a good one to talk about on here, I think. But
Note to self.
But we meet Styles, and he's obsessed with getting this keg of beer. Now, I don't know how much everybody really went through this much trouble trying to get a keg of beer in high school.
I did. Hey, I live in the backwoods of Texas. You got to do something on Friday and Saturday night.
But I love when he goes in and talks to the old man, and that old man is just not having
That's
it.
great.
He just got to see your ID, sport. But then,
and like him acting like he's like getting it for the boss down at the plant.
Yeah.
Like
It's a good plan.
He's been working all day in the mines. Now we got to get some beer.
And I love that.
Yeah, it was a good try.
Yeah.
And I love that the old man, he goes, here's a little extra for you, and hands him some money. Old man takes it and then says he's got to see his ID. So he lost his money, the old man. But goes back out to the car with Lewis. And I don't even like beer. He says, never say die.
Die.
I was like,
yes.
holy shit.
Of course.
I was like, holy shit.
Never say die.
2 movies in a row. Like, all right, can we get a third? What's another one they say it in? But I thought that was pretty
I don't know.
funny.
Die Hard.
Oh, I don't know. We'll find it.
Also, I love watching old movies, and when they go into a store, especially a grocery store, in this case, a gas station or whatever, I love looking at the old packaging on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at old products. Like, I'm just watching the background for that whole scene, looking at old liquor bottles and stuff. It just it brings you back. You know? You could almost smell that place.
It's almost like
a little musky, not great.
And it's
circulation
almost,
in there.
Do you think
damp.
Do you think Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg kind of like that scene in Superbad? They were
Maybe
going
they
for
took
something
it from
like
this.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another example of a kid trying to.
Dazed and
in that
Confused.
way.
Dazed and Confused.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
But there's no hesitation there. We're definitely gonna be talking about Dazed and Confused in the future. But
you know what? We passed one thing. You know in Fresh Prince when Carlton joins a basketball team and he takes that last second shot and it misses? Like it was shot. I wanted to look it up, but it was exactly like the beginning of this movie. And
I remember that
I wonder
episode.
if it was like an homage to that because it was spot on. It felt like I was just watching Fresh Prince. Anyway, carry on.
I don't think Fresh Prince was out at that time.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Fresh Prince was
okay.
Yeah.
Fresh
referencing
Prince did an homage.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until we were watching Teen Wolf 2 that Styles is called Styles because his last name is Stalinsky. And I was just like, this guy's not that cool. Like, how did he get such a cool nickname?
I was looking at the IMDb and it's Stile, and I go, oh, I guess it's just his name because I assume he wears all those shirts, all those cool. He's like, and he's the guy that sets up all the merchandise too. So like, clearly he works or has some access to a screen printing company because he's got custom tees.
Yeah. Not only that, all the shirts he wears, you couldn't get away with those in school. I mean, one of them says something Dick knows on it.
Is that a Nothing But Trouble reference?
Oh, I didn't put that together. That's good.
Hey, let's do that one.
But we're also getting a little. We're introduced to Boof, so let's go ahead and talk about this whole conundrum here, because this is like the backbone of this friggin' movie.
It's true.
How oblivious can you really be at that age? Because this girl is all but throwing herself.
She is literally throwing herself at him at some points.
And he's obsessed with the drama girl.
Yeah.
Okay. We won't go down.
The vapid, empty, unlikable.
Succubus.
And a girl that doesn't even seem popular. Like she doesn't we don't ever see people fawning over her. She's always off kind of doing her own thing.
Right.
She we don't see anyone else attracted to her. So they don't do enough to make her seem like some ultimate prize.
Well, just have 33-year-old Mick who's done 7 years in prison and is now back in high school again.
Gotta make it up.
Maybe it's because they were friends. They've been friends since they were kids, and he has a hard time seeing her that way. I don't know, but Boof is a delightful young lady, and she gets mistreated for a while in this movie.
Yeah,
he doesn't deserve her, is what
he
I'm saying.
absolutely does not deserve her. Like she should have run in the other direction so many times.
Absolutely.
And she is like friends with his dad, and she's like a super cool girl. He can't see it. Young men are stupid. I think that is maybe the moral of the entire movie is that young and some older men are just dumb when it comes to women. Just dumb.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
I concur.
I'm dumb. I'm dumb.
But yeah, I mean, and he asked Boof the question, why won't Pamela Wells say 5 words to me? And it's just like Eric just said, probably because she's a vapid, self-centered bitch.
Yeah.
And why would you be attracted to that?
She is not nice to anyone.
No.
She doesn't seem to even have friends. Usually if you've got like a popular girl in a movie, she's got like her little posse that follows her around or something.
She's got a couple.
We never see her.
Friends.
I mean,
right?
Okay.
Does she have one friend?
I don't know if she's even got... we never see her with anybody but Mick, I think.
Really?
We barely even see her at school unless she's on the stage.
Yeah.
So like...
Yeah, she's got her director.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't do enough to... At no point do I see why Scott likes her at all.
Other than it's just female objectification.
Yeah.
I mean...
She's the blonde.
And
I'm not digging.
I know, like if you told me Boof or Pamela, I'm like Boof all day.
Boof all day.
And it's not.
Boof
and it has
all
nothing to do.
Day.
Nothing to do with looks. It's just she's a better person.
Objectively, the better choice. And I mean, the thing is, Scott and Pamela kind of deserve each other because of
He's so oblivious.
He
Yeah,
treats Booth the way that Pamela treats him.
right.
Just
Yep.
discards her for something else whenever,
When he's popular.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
They were made for each other in a sense.
I mean, I do think though that does tie into some of the coming of age stuff and maturing and you know, looking for the right things. You know, and his dad gives him some advice about some of this stuff too later, if I recall. But you know, it's you are like that when you're a kid. You don't think of people's feelings. You don't look at their qualities as much. You know, so I think he figures it out at the end. But you're right. He doesn't really earn her.
Nope.
She's always there. He can have her whenever he wants. And then at the end he wants, so he gets it. And it's like, well.
And Scott's dad sees it, and he's like Scott's
Yep.
dad is trying to get him laid.
Yeah.
Like he's like
Scott's dad's a great guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy, and like he sees what's right in front of Scott, and Scott doesn't. Like the relationship between them. I think there's a very good dialogue between the two of them, and I do see where that was a very strong point of the movie. Going back a little bit, let's talk about the basketball coach, because this dude is hilarious.
I love him.
I
love him.
I wish he had more lines in the movie.
He is zen as hell.
Yeah.
He does not care if he wins or loses. He is just vibing. He's eating an egg.
Give me some salt. Salt.
What a quirky character, and a nice change from your standard movie coach that is just like
Sports.
yeah, like some crazy like meathead. Like he doesn't care if they win or lose. He's fine.
You want to forfeit the game? Yeah, I figure you could beat the 5 o'clock traffic.
He's just
Not
like,
only that is like he says it right. Like as a kid, he's talking to the principal, talking about how bad they are. But he said, well, the reason we're losing is look at their shoes. If our guys had shoes like that, we could win more games. And that goes back to us being kids. Is like, ooh, if I have brand new shoes, I can run faster and jump higher.
Gotta get those
That's
PF
why they're
flyers.
losing. It's all about the shoes. That's why they're losing. They just need some new shoes.
Yeah,
He just wants a bigger basketball budget the next year.
Yeah.
honestly, I
more money
think
to buy more.
he's just like, they do not pay me enough to care about this.
Well, he even says it in the exchange with Scott. He's like, truth is, I should be coming to you when I need money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he has no money. Did you see all that KFC sitting on his desk? He wasted his whole week's paycheck on a 12-piece and 3 sides or something.
Hey,
Come
Scotty, you
on.
want a thigh or a leg or something?
Like, yeah, exactly. Man eats enough. I mean, shoot, eggs and chicken.
But I love him. But moving on into the keg of beer thing, and Styles talking I said Marty.
Ooh,
We're crossing over here.
Let's see how many times we do that.
Right.
Scott.
Well, I mean,
Scott.
we'll get to that. Well, again with the coach, and touching on the teachers at this school are also a bunch of nut jobs.
They're terrible.
Like the drama guy
Yeah.
is insane.
He thinks he's on Broadway.
What was the other?
See, the teachers feel like characters from Animal House and those kind of raunchier, you know.
Right, when Styles is
movies,
like,
party movies.
You know, so and so. I heard he got his dick caught in the vacuum cleaner. It's like, who are these teachers?
Yeah.
And then there's
it happens.
the lady teaching the class when Scott's first finds out he's a wolf and he's like struggling in class. She reminds me of Miss Hodges in high school, which, if anybody that knows Miss Hodges from Bay High, it reminded me of her a little bit, but I won't go down that road. But yeah, I mean, I just every story, every inkling of something you see about one of the teachers or somebody in this school is just like, man, these people are not good to be in the education system.
Not only that janitor is going to get one of those kids killed by those wet floors.
It was like
that was an extremely
a river.
wet.
Yes.
When he slides, you can see like a wave of water.
I was worried Michael J. Fox was going to blow an ACL doing that down the thing there. He had some shaky little slips.
And
There's no way that could happen.
He actually did that stunt too.
It totally looked like him, and And yeah, man, I mean, that is you could get hurt, hit your head.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous stunt,
Or
man.
even-
He's basically like Tom Cruise.
He takes that fall towards the end of it, and that looks like it hurt.
Well, he does some good physical comedy, like you know,
Well-
in this and in Back to the Future, he can fall over.
Yeah, that's something the producers talked about in the stuff I watched too. Was he wanted to do more, but obviously couldn't because the star can't do all those stunts.
He's also not very good at basketball, which neither am I. But whenever he's got the ball, is
pretty apparent.
a little shaky.
Yeah, and that was a known thing. Is as much as Michael J. Fox tried to prepare for them, he sucked at basketball. Everybody knew he did. They had to have a guy stand in for him to shoot.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely obvious that that's not Michael J. Fox in the wolf outfit playing basketball.
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah,
definitely.
Because he's a foot taller.
Yeah,
but when he wolfs out, he gets taller.
Yeah,
and he gets better at basketball, so it works.
Better at everything.
It all works. Yeah.
See, for movies we love, we can find these outs to why things don't make sense. They do make sense. We can make it.
Well, it makes perfect sense. He's being the wolf makes him better at everything. And I'm losing track of where we are in the movie, but I forgot a lot of things in this movie, and I did not remember that his dad was a wolf. Like when that got me completely. I was like, my jaw dropped. He's in the bathroom, and I'm like, what is? And it opens it up. Dad's standing there.
Yeah.
I love that moment.
He is
that's
the
a little
cutest
far ahead.
old
He is.
man
He's like a teddy
wolf.
bear.
Oh my gosh, with the gray beard.
I love the gray. He's like an old dog. He's like an old boy dog. Oh man, I love him. I want to pet him.
They said when they did the test screenings for this, that like the audience erupted when they opened the door and you see him, just because he looks so ridiculous.
It's such a perfect delivery too. Like they don't say anything. It's not some big screaming, they just look at each other.
I think an explanation is in order. It landed on my face.
On my face.
But
They were jumping ahead.
yeah, we got to talk about the typical 80s movie high school party. Well, let's talk about getting the beer.
Oh yeah, when Scott actually gets the beer.
I absolutely.
Now again, I forgot a lot about this movie. I keep saying this was another thing. I'm thinking when his eyes light up, and he says,
get me
a keg of beer or something like that. I'm like, is this like a preacher thing? Like, does he have like mind control abilities? I was wrong, obviously. I couldn't remember, but it made me think of preacher.
Yeah.
It was like a command, and his eyes lit up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the fact that he had glowing red eyes and his voice dropped 4 octaves.
Yeah. Old man just shit his pants.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love when Styles is trying to convince him to go in to get the beer. He's like, "Look, I'd go and do it myself, but that dude already kicked me out."
He's trying to get him to hold up the convenience store.
Right.
Yeah. Just stick
With
this in
a
your pocket.
real
With a water.
gun.
No,
Is
with
it
a water
gun?
It's a water gun.
Okay.
It's a water
It's a
gun.
water gun.
I
But
missed-
some old
missed
guy in a
that.
liquor store is going to pull out a sawed off from under the
Yeah, I could totally
counter,
see that dude
buddy.
doing that.
It would turn into a Quentin Tarantino movie real fast.
Main character dies within like 15 minutes of the movie.
Yep. Terrible plan.
But yeah, the going in, I love the old man's, exchange with him. No ID, no goddamn beer. I love it. He just goes off on the guy. But again, Michael J. Fox plays it so straight.
He does.
What's funny is I watched the old trailer for this, and they show that scene in the trailer, and the voice stuff is not as low of an octave as it is in the movie, and you see it in the trailer, like, whoa, well that would not scare me. That would make me go, get out of my store. But, so yeah, they get their keg, and then we have the famous Surfing USA.
I feel like this is what people remember about this movie.
Well, the shirt I'm wearing has
Yeah.
Teen Wolf
Definitely
on
the
top
wolf
of the
surfing.
Wolfmobile surfing.
Yep.
And kids are so stupid. Like, this is
something they would do.
Dangerous, so reckless. I mean,
Yeah. I read that the reason they did that is the writers, the two guys that helped write the script and everything, they did stuff like this in college. or they knew people who did this in college. That's why they wrote it into the movie as something just wild and crazy and out there, and something you maybe hadn't seen in a movie, but they had seen in real life.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
again, like one of these party movies, it fits right in there with that. And again, I loved all the signs of the businesses as they're driving through downtown and that kind of stuff. Old signage and things like old brands from, stores that are around now. I can't recall.
Yeah.
I can't remember what went by, but love that stuff. Anytime to see old branding stuff is fun.
If you watch closely, they drive by the same Jack in the Box like 3 times.
That's right. They the montage shows maybe they just went around the block. Say,
Yeah.
I'll explain it away.
Well, again,
So-
because of the shooting schedule, they had to shoot late at night for some of that
they
stuff.
they only had 21 days, I think, to shoot the
Yeah.
whole movie.
And that was done at like 3:30 in the morning in Los Angeles. The director actually wanted to move the movie to Kentucky because it was supposed to be like middle America high school stuff, and they wouldn't let him move it there because it would have been too expensive, but they let him go there for a weekend and just hang in the high school and go to high school parties, which
Hang out in Kentucky.
yeah. And he
Go
came
to high school parties.
and apparently he came
Oy.
back with some of the ideas of the party we're about to get into.
I feel like that's made up. No high school
This
parties
guy-
are like this party.
And especially in Kentucky, like maybe in California. But I mean,
Well, people party everywhere, but this director went down and partied with a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
And came back with some tricks like this.
yeah,
It's a little scary.
They know how to party in Kentucky.
yeah.
Everybody take lessons.
So my kids had a game. Have you seen the game where you hit the buttons and it has a little, it's called like pie in the face?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know of it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And you use a little Ready Whip. You
Mhm.
put some Ready Whip on there and it pies you in the face with some Ready Whip. You play that game with your kid for about 20 minutes and that stuff, even though if you wipe it off, even if you wash your face, it smells like rotten milk
Yeah.
in like,
Now imagine rolling around.
you have
in it.
to scrub your face. And then these two, and we've got Nev, my 11-year-old, on the couch. She's like, "What is going on?"
Cover your eyes.
Oh no!
Well,
She's like, "Are they naked?" No, they're not naked.
not quite.
No.
Not
Yeah,
quite.
the guy's wearing
Close.
his tighty whitey Fruit of the Looms.
But I find it very funny that Styles is so worried that he's not going to get into the party because he won't have a keg. And then there's 6 kegs there already. And he
Nobody
says,
cares.
Put it over there. If we don't get to it, take it home.
And then he is the life of the party.
Yeah.
He-
He's like
Yeah.
the master of ceremony for the party.
It's
Yeah.
like if he
Yeah.
wouldn't have been there, this would not have been a good party.
and where does
Like,
that come
why
from?
does he have to pay to get in? Yeah, it does seem when they got there, the older kids didn't like Styles.
Right.
Like when they walk in, they're like, "Hi guys," and they didn't care. Like everyone's ignoring him. Yeah, and then the next minute, I guess he won them over.
He's the MC.
Mick didn't like him though.
Mick didn't like anybody.
Yeah, Mick is a hateful individual.
He's still remembering his days in jail. He hates society.
But here we can get into some of the stuff that may not sit so well nowadays. I mean, you think about the Jell-O.
So Chubb's mission is to eat an entire bowl of Jell-O, which he doesn't have a problem with, but from inside this girl's shirt. And I'm assuming there was no actual consent for having Jell-O eaten out of my shirt by a stranger. Like,
Well, certainly a peer pressure situation, but she was actively playing the game.
she was
I
playing
think,
the game,
and she might know Chubbs too,
perhaps, but you've got people.
and they're in their late 20s.
Yeah. People tied up, rolling around on the floor in whipped cream, Jell-O being
yeah.
eaten out of shirts, and then you get Boof and Scott doing the 7 minutes in heaven in the closet, and she
Styles says,
totally,
Anything goes.
she totally lies to get him in there, which is the smart thing to do for a girl. Just FYI. I mean,
Just lie.
you're just gonna randomly kiss some I don't know. It bothers
Right.
me.
She didn't want to get stuck with somebody else.
Right. All
and she's pursuing him nonstop the entire movie anyway. So
yeah, but then I mean, it gets a little heated in there.
well, he gets a little of that wolf action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wolfs out just a little
Gets
bit.
a little
and
worked up.
Shreds her back.
Now, one thing I noticed is Pamela.
When she leaves the party, sorry, Josh, when she leaves the party, she goes to the ER to get
Yeah.
stitched up.
She had to.
But I noticed that Pamela has Scott's name. Now, they don't really lead into this, but I'm thinking to myself, is Scott trying to play this to where he can have time with Pamela? So did they set this up? Or was it really just a coincidence?
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
something I had.
Styles could have very well,
Yeah.
stacked the deck there and set up his buddy. That's
What's funny
It's a
is,
Styles thing to do.
but the thing is they know Boof is into him, and they obviously say, because Lewis says it to him in the van. He says, "Why don't you go with Boof? She's into you." And he's like, "You sound like my dad."
Everybody
Yeah.
knows that Boof is into him. Like,
Everybody.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he
Scott.
knows
Yeah.
he knows she is too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and yeah, he's just not into it. But Lewis, was that his name?
Yeah.
The younger friend?
Yes.
What a lame character.
he was kind of pointless. But okay,
Like Lewis is scared of you. It's like okay, and then
Well,
I mean it just does. Lewis is scared. We never address it really.
that's the thing, is they never address it. I do think there is
Yeah.
a cool thing for that juxtaposition of, okay, now you've got a friend. Your friend has now got this stature in school, and how do you feel about it? Because he used to be on the same level as you. Now he's somewhere else, and you got the added fact of he's a fucking werewolf. And like everybody seems
which
to
no
be
one seems to mind. too
very
much.
accepting.
totally
I mean, he
cool.
wolfs out in
yeah.
the middle.
The fact
He
that-
wolfs out in the middle of the basketball game, and everyone just looks at him. They take about 20 seconds to compute, and then just
And
go.
then he makes
which
a
I
shot.
love actually.
So
Yeah.
I truly love that moment. I love where it's like everyone in the crowd and the refs are looking. They go, "It's a movie.
yeah.
Keep playing."
The only one that actually shows any kind of terror is the principal, which then we find out kind of.
We know why. Yes.
And he's like, "Oh, but that I mean, when you're a kid, you're like, why is the principal so scared? You know, he was all like harsh and
And why was he after him the whole time too? And yeah, that all's
get to that
pretty
later.
tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's all set up nicely and it pays off nicely. That whole vendetta.
Yeah, I will say the writing in this movie is very good.
Mhm.
I mean, they did have a good script to work with. And that's not to say anything's bad.
It's a
here,
nice
just-
breezy 90 minutes too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which helps.
Yeah. Well, you got to also think about the guy who, one of the guys. There was two guys. So it was Jeff Loeb and another gentleman that helped write these movies. The guy went on to write stuff for Heroes from NBC, and he writes for Marvel Comics and DC Comics.
Jeff Loeb wrote on this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Dang, I didn't know that.
and he's wrote a lot of others. So
And-
I mean, you had
Sure.
this is like one of his first writing movies that he had done, and then look where he went after that. So I
Well,
mean, the
Long
guy has some
Halloween, man.
skills.
That
yeah,
dude
he
wrote
did a
Long
lot of
Halloween.
Batman.
That's like
yeah,
Well, it was Jeff Loeb and Matthew Wiseman was the other
yeah,
one.
Matthew Wiseman.
And what I found funny that in my research is those two went on to write Commando.
yes,
oh,
As-
which we'll probably watch at some point, right?
It's I think it's coming up early next year in the schedule. We've got our movies laid out a little bit.
That's a good one.
It absolutely is. I can't wait to talk about it. But,
okay. Well, now we've got to the party, and now we have the aftermath of going home.
yeah, and we've touched on the dad being a werewolf, but the transformation scene nowadays, a little.
Do we know who did the effects
I do.
work for this?
Jeff Dawn
Yeah.
was the guy who came in, and come to find out, he also did special effects for Terminator, Running Man, and T2, and a lot of other Arnold movies. He was either head effects or head makeup or.
I mean, the overall. Let's talk about the overall look of him, as well as the transformation. So the transformation, obviously, is not great. You got some bladder work.
There's some moments where I'm even questioning if it's Michael J. Fox. Like, it does not look like Michael J. Fox. Now, is
Well,
that because of the makeup, or it actually wasn't him?
no,
But
it
you gotta
was
also-
him. I think.
Yeah, it was. I think it was him. I think Jenny is right. And but you got to think it's 1985. I mean, we only other big two things that we had before that is like An American Werewolf in London and Thriller, and you saw that, but we are all like in amazement of these, and I actually don't think that is a bad transformation scene for 1985. And
No, I mean compared
had,
to those, it is though.
Yeah,
but they are
good.
still the some of the best effects scenes
It's
in
all
history. So it's
you had Stan Winston, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but the
American Werewolf and Thriller might as well be the same thing because it was Rick Baker did both of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I mean,
Rick Baker. Yeah.
There's actually sound effects and certain scenes of the transformation that they lifted from American Werewolf and put in Thriller. So now we can talk. We'll actually talk about this at some point. But the Howling transformation scene is really good as well.
That's right. That's another good one. Now, when did the Howling come out? Anyone?
87, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of werewolves at this time.
Yeah.
But werewolves are hot. What do you think about the overall look of him? Like, once he's
transformed
out, I love it.
I like it a lot. Yeah,
I love the long hair
Yes.
that's like slicked back. It's not like crazy sticking everywhere. It's just slicked back. I love how the fur on his arms and legs is like kind of shaggy, but you can see the skin under it. It just looks kind of.
Howling was 81 actually, so it was.
I was about to say
4 years
Howling
before
came
this.
out early.
Okay. Anyway, continue.
But yeah,
it's a Howling ripoff.
Yeah. But the overall look of, I mean, Josh knows me. Everybody that knows, I love werewolves. That's like besides Michael Myers, werewolves are my number one thing. And to me, this is one of my favorite looks for a practical effect werewolf in movies, period. I mean, because he looks like a human being that is part wolf, not somebody that is totally wolfed out or just a little bit of patchy hair on their face and some fangs,
It also, has that universal monster
very much a
vibe
universal
too,
monster. Yep. And now today everything is just CGI, fur, and effects. So I mean, I give it props for what it was back then.
And honestly, when you watch the movie, it plays into the narrative too, because they talk about this in the production when they were talking about what he would look like, and in all the other movies, the whoever it is wolfs out, and then they look like a dog or a giant wolf from that point forward. They wanted to go with a human-looking physique because when Scott and his dad are talking about after the first time he transforms, he says the wolf is part of you, but it's not who you are, or it's not what you have inside. So I think that still plays into the narrative of it. Like he has this ability. He is a werewolf, but it's not who he is.
Yeah.
Right. He's not defined by it.
So
again, and I love the look in the basketball uniform.
Yeah.
It does good.
And these schools, they had Adidas gear, man. They're wearing Adidas basketball.
I know, right? And then the coach is bitching about.
Sweet, dude.
The coach is bitching about shoes. It's like, I didn't have Adidas when I was in high school. If I had some Adidas, I'd feel pretty
hell no.
like I could be Jordan for a little while.
We had like Rydell or something.
Good old Rydell.
Did anybody else notice the really, really bad ADR in this though?
Oh yes, actually, I have a note of that. Lots of ADR everywhere.
Lots.
Lips
of it.
not matching up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I maybe that's because the short shooting schedule.
Probably.
They weren't able to reshoot things, and they had to just.
Well,
I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of that.
I am noticing it a lot more in new movies now because technology's changed. They don't do things the same anymore, and it was an easy way for them to correct things in editing. So, but now that HD video has come out and you're seeing pictures more clearly, like it was easy back then because the picture wasn't the greatest. You couldn't really tell if the lips were moving when somebody was talking. Now it's blatantly obvious. Yep.
That's true. You can see the strings nowadays.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to Beetlejuice. There's some pretty obvious stuff in Beetlejuice, but
or how bad the backgrounds look in Aliens on 4K or whatever it is now, Blu-ray.
Yeah. or even Terminator. I mean,
oh god,
some of the back
Arnold's penis.
Well, that they finally got in view. I was happy about that.
Yeah.
Is there something you need to tell Jenny at this moment? Explain.
But
Benny knows.
All right, moving on. Yes.
Can we talk about how bad this play is. That they're.
I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
Well,
I
again,
don't either.
Is it Gone with the Wind?
We're talking about how. Yeah, it is Gone with the Wind, right?
It is.
It
but
can't be.
we don't. You know, I was saying we don't see her with other people. Where's the other people in the play?
It's just
like,
her.
why don't we have other kids
It's a
on
one-woman
stage?
show.
Or we never see her acting or interacting with anyone.
She's doing the whole all of it.
It's so bizarre. She's always alone.
It's the Pamela monologues.
Yeah.
She just, I'm going to do Gone with the Wind by myself.
And again, why can't she be good at acting? Why does she have to be bad at everything,
Really bad.
unlikable? There is no reason to like this
There's
girl
no redeeming
other
value.
than her appearance. And again, I don't feel like, what's the girl in Breakfast Club with
Molly
the frizzy
Ringwald,
hair?
Ali Sheedy.
No. Yes. Now they kind of she wore kind of grubby clothes. Her hair was unkept, right? Why didn't we do something like that with Boof? Like, both of these girls are nice-looking young ladies, right?
Well,
why don't we show a girl who's a knockout, done up with makeup, hair, nice clothes, popular at school, good at acting? That's the girl that he should be begging to be with.
But no, they
and then
decided
have
to go-
Boof be a little tomboyish maybe, or not so done up, not so over the top. That would be a better dynamic, wouldn't it?
Honestly,
Than getting just this empty, terrible human.
But I think the thing is that his desire for her is irrational. It's just 100% pure lust. It has nothing to do
Lust.
with who she is as a person.
That's true.
If she's
He's a
a good
horny
actress,
teenager.
yeah, it's all about hormones.
He's a horny dog boy.
Yeah. Again,
He's-
back to puberty and growing
Yep.
up.
Well, it also says something about the time, because I honestly think that's what they were trying to do with Boof. I don't think they were trying to doll
Yeah,
her up.
I think that she was supposed to be plain,
Yeah.
but really she just looks
She
like an
doesn't come
average
across as plain at all.
person in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even the tomboy thing, like she's playing basketball with his dad in the backyard. I think that was their aim at maybe trying to get some of
Maybe.
that feel in there. But
Didn't work.
another
Didn't work.
Another casting thing I found out, just off topic, I guess, but style. Do you know who was originally went in for Styles and didn't get the part?
Eric Stoltz.
Eric
Tried out
Stoltz-
for every
Well, he
part.
did
in
for
the movie.
every part. He even tried out for Pamela, and he didn't get
Right.
it. So.
God dang it.
You're
Give me
not-
something.
Sorry, Eric, you're not bitchy enough. But no, David Spade auditioned for the part of Styles.
That would have worked.
I found-
that would have worked just fine. I love David Spade.
But they, at that point he wasn't David Spade yet. But the
Yeah.
the producer
Right.
was saying, he came in and read for it, and we thought
That's
we were
fine.
going to go with him there for a little while. But then the guy who plays Styles actually came in, and they said, "Oh nope, this is our guy." But I don't know. I don't know if I can imagine David Spade in that Life of the Party part. Like
No,
that.
I don't know if I could do that. I like David Spade, but I don't think he could do Styles.
It wouldn't have come across the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get the we found out about her play, and then we get our teenage hormone scene. Now, again, like, she's so vapid, like, even when she's in her underwear, I don't find her attractive whatsoever because she's so just ugh. But I did realize this time around that when the principal's leaving and he howls, it's like, oh, he just busted his nut. That's,
Yep.
Yes, that's one way to put it.
Some werewolf
Josh.
intercourse happening.
Yes, he reached.
He reached climax.
it's not
Hi.
it's not a full moon, if you know what I mean. But no,
And
that's
this is
something-
why this show is for not young kids.
There's a disclaimer at the beginning if anyone's
have
listening. It's up to
disclaimers.
their own suffice.
But then,
Sorry, kiddies.
they proceed to go on a date. And
Yeah, the bowling, yeah.
bowling, yes. And she's just trying to make Mick jealous. And he's an excellent bowler, Scott is, with I guess that's another product of him being good at everything,
Yeah.
is the wolf.
He's good at everything.
But then
Good at bowling.
she promptly tells Scott that they are not
a thing.
A thing.
And Mick is her boyfriend.
Yep, is still in a relationship with Mick, and she's going to the dance with him. So
again, she's
yes.
completely awful.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah.
She's definitely a narcissist.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
But apparently she was the sweetest person in the world as a person.
Of course she is.
Kind of backtracking a little bit, how much do you think they had to pay to get to use Surfing in the USA in this? Like, this is a small budget movie. I would imagine the rights for that and to use it in that scene. Like, well, they do Saturday Night Fever also, but did you notice that it's very slowed down? Like, it's definitely not the Bee Gees version.
Yeah, it's like it's a little BPM slower.
But they use Surfing USA twice in this, and I can only imagine that took up a chunk of their budget.
Yep.
And again, like, that's not stuff you think about when you're a kid. You're just like, oh, but
It was great having those songs in the movie, though.
yeah,
You know,
this one does have some good '80s cheese music.
Oh,
For sure.
The cool thing about the music, I checked into that. The score stuff is done by Miles Goodman, and this is where I know Josh and Jenny were like, he ended up doing Little Shop of Horrors and La Bamba. Also. So I was like, this guy, he just wasn't, a flash in the pan. He went on to do other things. That's just a few that I looked. I think he did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and stuff like that too. So he's done a few movies that are prominent in the day.
As we go on into this podcast, we'll find out how much I have a love for certain musicals. I'm definitely not your typical guy who hates musicals, but Little Shop of Horrors is definitely one I've got some things to talk about. I absolutely love that movie. Anyway.
Not only that, Josh can do the whole Thriller dance. So just let everybody know
I'm
that.
a bit rusty. I don't think I could pull it off anymore, but I definitely had many a nights in the living room trying to do the Michael Jackson
interesting.
dancing.
You need to. He needs.
Well,
to
we
show
get
you.
our own version of that here.
Yeah. The dance. This is awkward. Like, this is the walk with him and Boof, and how he asked her to the dance. And even in that exchange, you just want to slap him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
She's like, "Will you be my date to the dance?" He's like, "Oh no, I got to be the wolf." What the fuck is wrong with you, bruh?
He's
got the pressure of the entire town.
He's
at this
consumed
point. The
with
entire
power.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one liked Scott for good reason. Because he's a selfish little boy. And
And now he's the selfish wolf.
and now they like him because he can wolf out because he's a freak, It's a freak show.
Yeah.
They don't like him.
Here's what I have an issue with the dance, and the dance is really weird to me because Pamela is still lusting for Scott, but she's there with Mick, so it's uber confusing because, again, Pamela is a terrible person.
Right. What are the stakes here? What outcomes are possible at this point?
Right. So I have no
Kind of
idea
decided
where that's going because it's just awkward. Then they have their version of Thriller in the dance.
The wolf dance.
He dances with Boof instead of Pamela.
Right. He dances with Boof. He goes back to being Scott. And then here's where I get super confused. He wolfs out at Mick because Mick hits him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pamela is pissed off at him. And you're an animal. And blah, like, wait a minute. Where was this shift? Like, did we miss something? Did something
That's right. She
happen?
liked the fact that he was she had intercourse with a wolf man.
Right. No, okay.
Like, she
He's gonna
wanted,
have his pups.
it was a sweaty, hairy situation she was dealing with. Lots of hair.
Lots
Right.
of hair.
Lots of fur.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was into it. So, yeah. And then she just kind of turns on him.
And even Mick was like, "Oh, you want to have his puppies?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good line, actually.
I mean, he wasn't.
She did want to have his puppies. Hey, what do you think their babies would look like? Would they be a baby? I guess it would just be a baby werewolf. It skips a generation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it shifts a generation.
Sometimes it skips a generation.
Right. Sometimes. Yeah.
But, well, another thing Mick says at the bowling alley. Okay, I found this out when I watched it this time. We never know what happened to Scott's mom, right? His dad never talks about it. He says they had to learn to live with it, and that's all you really hear
That's true.
from that
Yeah.
perspective. Do you Do you think in this universe what Mick says in the bowling alley about Scott's mom could possibly be true?
What did he say again?
Because he's talking to Scott and he's like, "Stay away from my girl." He goes, "I dealt with your kind before. We used to shoot them when they were stealing chickens out of the backyard."
Like his mom is actually a wolf.
No, like his mom would have been a werewolf, and he said he says something about Scott's mom, and he would shot her in the backyard for killing chickens. I can't remember what it is, but it just struck me as funny that he says that, and we don't know anything about Scott's mom or what happened to her.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he meant, though. I don't think.
I think it informs us that he doesn't like wolves.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, wolves get in the chicken pen, we shoot them. That's basically what he says.
Like, I don't like
my yard.
Wolves. They're not majestic or fascinating animals or creatures. I don't want a wolf T-shirt.
He doesn't
I don't like wolves.
He doesn't like teen wolves.
He doesn't like Chuck
teens.
He doesn't like Chuck Norris because he's Lone Wolf McQuade. So
yeah.
But
he doesn't like the Timberwolves. He doesn't like the sorry.
But as far as the dance goes, I mean, the dance is just very confusing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know why it turns out the way it turns out, but
it feels a little like obligatory. Like, oh well, we have to have the dance, and now it's time to end the movie.
Right.
Like, let's wrap things up. It's really it's all about the basketball game, right? That's what we're waiting to get to.
Yeah.
The dance is pointless for the most part.
Jason, were you going to say something?
Well, the whole thing at the dance where Mick pushes him to that point and he wolfs out. You go back to a couple scenes earlier when his dad was talking about his interaction with the principal as a young man with him and Scott's mom when they were dating, and how the principal was trying to cut in on him dating his mom. And the meeting they had run in together, but he told him, he says that when he had that confrontation with him the first time, the wolf came out, and you see, like he said, he didn't know what scared him more, or who was scared more, the guy that plays the principal or him. And I think that's kind of what led this here. When that happened, he just totally wolfs out rage. I'm ripping you apart, and then you can kind of see it on his face when he leaves. He was like. He goes home that night and he really thinks about what his dad had said like the evening before or something like that, and then that's when you start seeing this whole shift in the movie.
It's all been fun and games up to this point, but now it's
until
serious.
Now somebody could have got hurt.
Yeah, he almost gutted Mick in the middle of the.
I mean,
that's true.
I mean, he could have got with Booth to say, how do you take care of wolf wounds? There's a certain salve you put on cuts and stuff like that. Because remember, her back was shredded.
She knows. So but at this point, she's not even fully healed from that.
Yeah, she's still dealing with stitches and stuff. So. But moving on, Josh, go ahead.
But that was my note on that. Is the Mick attack on Scott makes no sense. And then we get to the scene where his dad confronts Thorne, or is his name Thorne again? Is that his name?
Yeah, Principal
Thorne. He confronts him again, and we have the same scenario. But my question: what the hell was his dad doing at the dance? In a suit.
He just showed up just to watch out for him,
maybe he was a chaperone.
Yeah, he might have been a chaperone at the dance, because that's how parents used to do chaperones. And
local business.
He owned the local hardware store, so he might have been sponsoring some stuff they had for the dance, like decorations. And
okay.
Boom.
Okay.
Cool. Boom.
Got it.
I just needed some justification.
Maybe he was just creeping because he knew he sensed it. He sniffed it out. He knew the
he sniffed it out.
he knew the principal might be trouble. You know what I mean? So he took care. But it's a great moment where he makes him piss himself.
But there's no doubt who's scared in that moment. Like, it's not the dad anymore. It is totally the principal.
Yeah, he looks down and he's like, I wish they would have showed like the piss running down on the floor.
I don't know. You got the implication there. I think it's enough.
Jason needs to see the piss.
Well,
pants.
I want to know.
I want to see those piss pants.
They talked about this in the behind the scenes stuff because the dad was so much shorter than the principal. They didn't know how they were going to shoot the scene, and then they discussed it. Both the actors discussed it, and they said that's what they came up with, was just they would both look down, and that would be how they would get that across. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, he's standing on an apple box.
Yeah.
Great.
But
like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to before the dance a little bit, because at this point you've got Scott being the wolf. Everybody wants him to be the wolf. He's winning some basketball games for everybody, but everybody starts to resent him because it's all about him. I mean,
the basketball team is
just
bored.
Yeah,
eating apples
on the court.
Hey, but at least Chubb has moved on to eating apples and not liverwurst. So hey, let's give it up for Chubb.
There's a little
Hey,
plus
good.
there, but I just love how
they just do what they're coached. Coach.
Right.
They're just following the lead there.
But and that plays into the final basketball scene, and we come in. We're gonna get our asses handed to us, right? And it's like, okay, because Scott is a werewolf is why your team sucks. Like, I love how they put everything on Scott, and it's their fault. It's Scott's fault that they're doing so bad because he won't be a werewolf. It's just like, did you guys not learn how to play basketball at all during the season when
like obviously they did, because you have people giving him assists and stuff, and until he completely takes over and is doing it all by himself, there are some moments where the other members of the team are participating.
Yeah.
So I think
also their only loss when they didn't have the wolf went to arguably the other best team in their division. Right. So like they lost to the best team.
Right.
So maybe they're not that bad, and we see that they're not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, Scott just plays it down so much, because when he's done with the first game, he's going to the hardware store. They're asking him, "What was the score?" That's funny. He responds
maybe
like,
they were
"This is the worst
bad
thing."
The year before. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just, it struck me as funny is the team's mad because he won't wolf out, so they won't suck.
Right. But they didn't like him hogging the ball either.
True.
So.
But then we get to the
and Chubb turns it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chubb,
I mean, he
can play.
Half that montage is Chubb thinking him.
And back to the people.
And I love when he'd set up the pick too.
Yeah.
The Chubb pick was amazing. Dropping fools.
No. And I want to go back to the people resenting him too, because Styles is in that group of people too. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
And then we cut to the day before, or the day of the basketball game, and he's like, "No, you got to wolf out because I'm losing money here." He's still reaping the benefits of Scott being a wolf, but he's pissed
He's got
off.
a lot of merchandise that he needs to get rid of. I mean, he's got money tied into this.
Yeah.
Wolfmobile.
Yeah.
The Wolfmobile.
Yeah.
I love what he says when he gets the Wolfmobile too. He's like, "Hey, we got some good tunes, some new wheels, and a total disregard for human safety."
It's true.
It's great, but he comes to the basketball game, and he's the big man. He doesn't wolf out. He says, "We're gonna do this." It's a very touching moment in the movie, to be honest. Like, you can't help but feel happy when they do win the game at the end. Spoilers.
And it's fun that they let you have that happy ending. It's not some kind of. I feel like if this movie was made now we've kind of gotten past that point where more cynical audience.
Yeah.
You would want him to maybe come close to winning, or and feel like I did a good job even though I didn't win, or but yeah, we get everything we want. He gets to win as himself and make the final shot, and he is so wet.
Yes.
Why is he so wet? He looks like he just climbed out of the pool to take the. He's soaking wet.
How can he
Everyone's
even
soaking
hold
wet.
on to the basketball?
Yeah.
He's
Mick's just as wet. These guys are wet, dude.
And if you watch when he walks up to the coach, when he comes into the gym and he walks up to the coach, he's dry as a bone, and then when he goes into the huddle, he's soaking wet.
We need more water over here. Cut.
It's those
the water guy.
It's those teenage hormones again, man. You're sweating one minute, you're not. You're sweating. You're turning into a wolf. You're growing hair.
Yeah, he's just a little hormonal.
You're chasing chickens, and now you're playing basketball.
So at this point in the production, they were talking about Michael J. Fox had been cast, and he was in Family Ties, and he'd been cast in Back to the Future. So the extras on set were recognizing him more now. So when they would say action on set, they didn't know he was going to be in a scene or something, or they didn't know he was in the movie, whatever. And they said they got into a big issue where the actors or the extras would freak out when they saw that it was Michael J. Fox because he was getting so famous.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they would have to cut and then go back and do the scene again and explain to them. Now, when the director says action, you can't do that.
You can't stare at everyone's staring at Michael J. Fox.
But that played into their favor when they filmed the final scene or the final basketball game, because it was not hard to get people to act happy because Michael J. Fox was right there on set in front of them.
Yeah, shooting hoops.
Yeah.
And missing every one of them, throwing bricks all night long.
Get a shot of him throwing the ball and then a shot of it going in.
And Jenny saw a side of my sports stuff come out when we were watching this scene the other night, because there's a shot he makes and they're running through the court and he like jumps up and somebody grabs hold of him and carries him across the court and the other team scores as they're celebrating. I'm like, if he wasn't doing that celebrating shit, they wouldn't have had to make up for 2 points. He wouldn't have to be worried about making both of these shots at the end.
That's funny. Yeah, that's an error. You shouldn't have done dumbass extras, other team extra guys.
But it's a movie.
Yeah.
It's fictitious bullshit.
It's a movie. And he jumps in everyone's arms like a little baby too.
Well, look at him.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know he's a little guy, but like he doesn't just like jump. He's like, hold me. And jumps up.
Well, he doesn't have a mom, so
They do. Yeah, he's got mommy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Misses
So-
his mommy.
I asked
Chubb, be my mommy.
I asked Jenny while we were watching this. I don't know when we discovered that Michael J. Fox had Parkinson's, but in watching his movies now and seeing some of the way he acts in movies, like he's always kind of been that like, but he had those tics.
He's a little jittery.
Yeah.
He has a very like pronounced way of doing things. Like nobody else can act like Michael J. Fox.
Like if anybody else did what he did, it would be overacting.
Yes.
Like
it's just
He moves around a lot.
Things that he
twitches
does.
and
But to see him in interviews now and know what he's going through, and I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive to his disease, but it just, I don't know if I'm just projecting on watching these movies now.
I think Parkinson's develops later in life,
really,
though.
because it was like, maybe we were seeing signs this whole time that he had something going on. But
I think it was just the affect of the way that he was acting.
And he still does that with the Parkinson's too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he still kind of turns and twists his head when he talks, that kind of stuff. But he's very animated, and that's part of why he's so fun in these movies. He's just kind of a visually animated guy when he acts. And, I think also why you don't get a ton of great serious material from Michael J. Fox. He's good in comedy, and, that's where he's comfortable. He's just kind of a fun presence, and, he's not Daniel Day-Lewis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they win the game, and I got to say the outro music when the game ends is so perfect. Like it's one of those songs that was written for the end of an 80s teen movie. Like, and it kind of, I'm not really knocking on it, because when he makes that shot and the intro to that music comes in, it kind of hits you a little bit. It's emotional.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
It's
Hits you in
good.
the feels,
It feels
for sure.
great.
Yeah.
It feels great.
So, and I mean, and so there's a celebration, and literally my last note that I wrote for the movie.
Oh, I know where you're going with this one.
Pamela is a bitch.
I have that.
I think that was the original.
I have that
title
3
for this
times.
film.
I have it 3 times in my opinion.
I had it about 4, and I won't even say what I originally wrote for all my notes about Pamela, because that might be a little harsh. But so
Jenny might make you sleep on the couch.
There was some anger behind his words. But when he passes her up for Boof at the end, her look on her face is so great. And then Mick's like, well, come on now, let's go. And she says, drop dead.
Drop dead.
Like she's not even upset about anything, because all she cares about is her.
she's so vain.
It's terrible. And
He does like the Dave Chappelle in the nightclub thing. You know what I'm talking about? The Chappelle show, where he just like face palms that girl. That's what he.
That's exactly what he does. He just hits her shoulder instead of her face. But it's like, that's the perfect way to end on her too, because when that happens, I'm like, Pamela, you Debbie Harry wannabe looking bitch, like you got what you deserved.
it's harsh.
She'll be alone forever.
Josh has some.
No,
anger
she'll end up
issues
marrying
about this.
Mick. He'll be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He'll probably, things won't be happy for them. Maybe if he's lucky, Scott will let him work at the hardware store.
Yeah, it's true.
So did anybody notice?
Take out the trash.
Did anybody notice the guy in the bleachers?
Oh yeah, that's
the
a big
credits
thing. That is a big thing all over the internet nowadays. I didn't remember it as a kid because you're not paying attention. It's the end of the movie. You're walking away, you're doing whatever, but then you're like, what is this thing? And you have to go back, and you're sitting there pausing. You're like, oh my god.
There was no going back for me this time. I saw it blatantly.
Oh yeah.
What are we talking about?
This guy's got his fly down in the stands.
Somebody had come up with this a while back, and it was, there's a guy, if you look real close in the background at the end of Teen Wolf, there's a guy with his dick out. That's how I heard about this.
That's how I heard it too, yes.
So I remember at the time not just hearing it and brushing it off, and then the next time I watched Teen Wolf, I forgot about it. But this time, it's blatantly obvious. Now, he does not have his dick out. Let's just make that clear. But when you look at, if you're looking at Scott and his dad,
was it Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That's why I didn't notice it. But if you look right behind Scott and his dad as they're hugging it out, dude's standing up in the bleachers and his fly is wide open. Like if he was going commando, you would have seen all his junk. And he actually, you see him button his pants and tuck his shirt down to hide it. And
then he zips his
out of
fly.
the movie. Yeah, he zips up his fly. It's like, you couldn't have done a reshoot for that.
Maybe he was excited they won the game. That's how he celebrated.
Well,
he couldn't hold it.
I told Jenny, I was like, as a big dude and just having been on a car trip, I can kind of relate. Because if you're sitting there for a long time,
you want to unbutton your pants.
You want to unbutton your pants for a second.
Yeah, he was just relaxing.
Just relaxing.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Maybe he went to Red Lobster or something before the game. He was full.
Yeah,
maybe it was all you could eat shrimp, and he's sitting there, man, I gotta take a button out. It could have been something as easy as that. Or like you said, he was excited they won the game. That's how he celebrates.
Yeah.
Do it
That's
right
how
now.
Judge.
That's how tight they were on the shooting schedule. There was a guy with his dick out in a scene, and they're like, we can't reshoot it. Michael's got to go shoot Family Ties.
He's gotta go.
But
that's funny.
I did hear that Michael J. Fox has made comments about Teen Wolf, even though they say that he was so nice and whatnot on set and everything. I've heard that he made a comment about, I'm over here shooting a werewolf movie when Steven Spielberg's making real movies down the street, because they were shooting in the same areas.
I mean, if you
that
compare
town did
the
feel
two,
familiar.
Yeah.
Actually, the neighborhood where Scott lives is the same town they used from the 1950 locations from Back to the Future. Same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think
cool.
they
That's
made,
why it
kind of
looks
reminded me of Halloween a little bit as well.
I was
with
going to say the same thing.
Sidewalks and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is the same streets, but it definitely looks like the streets from Halloween where the girls.
Well,
were
they
walking
did shoot
around.
that movie out in California too. Made it look like Haddonfield, Illinois, but it was shot in California.
Yeah, there's
Could
supposed to be
could have been.
Nebraska in this one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I saw a Nebraska Huskers thing hanging in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's
Scene
right.
with
That's
Scott
what
and
it
his
was.
dad.
that's really appropriate for today because today's my papa's birthday, and
He's a big Huskers fan.
He was a huge Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, and he's no longer with us. But I like that we brought that up today because that makes me smile.
Hey,
And they
that
were
was
elite
for
back
Jenny.
then too.
hey, Papa.
They were so good.
So, but I mean, that's about the gist of Teen Wolf. I don't really have much more. We've covered pretty much all the notes that I had.
I like when he bites the beer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the beer bite is
Yeah.
nice. Is that a beer,
I just
or is that
assumed
like
it was
a soda?
I don't know.
It
I
could
think
be a
was beer.
soda, but I'm thinking
They're like a pizza place.
they're
It
just
could have
throwing
beer,
beers
but
at him because he's so awesome and he's
throwing
winning the
beers-
games.
beers in, yeah.
And by the way, that doesn't work. I've tried it because I saw it in the movie.
Well, you don't
shaking
have
beer
teeth.
up.
Yeah, you don't have-
I just still like try
Incisors
it.
there.
You
Yeah.
know, we need every episode. Jason has to say, that doesn't work. I tried it because he said that with the guy in the
Hey.
Goonies. Now he's saying it with the beer can.
Hey, like I said, I grew up here in like the backwoods Texas where our graduating class had like 40 or 50 people in it. And then, I move over to Florida for a little bit and there's graduating classes of 300 or 400 kids. So we get bored over here. So we're in high school.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going and doing our drinking like they do in these movies, playing some stupid games, but not rolling around in Cool Whip or whipped cream. But you do those things. It's like, hey, I wonder if like in Teen Wolf when I was a kid, can you shake a beer up and actually bite it? No, it doesn't work. And you can't carry a beer keg into a party like Styles was, bear hugging it as little as he is.
Oh yeah,
There ain't no way.
that thing was empty. That thing was empty.
That was an
dude.
empty beer keg. That ain't happening.
It was light beer.
I'm gonna point that out. Yeah, it was light beer. Ah, Eric's here all week, folks.
I just also the when the wolf is doing the car surfing, that backflip was legit.
Yeah.
He's a gymnast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a legit nice little
And
well done.
Michael J. Fox wanted to do some of that stuff, but they wouldn't let him. I do like that you can see now.
Too valuable.
You can see the hand. You can actually see the handles that they mounted to the roof for him to do the handstand.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that before, but I saw it this time.
And when Styles is up there, I think they had him wired to the roof.
Yeah, I saw that in the production. They had
so he couldn't fall
a wire
off.
around his waist, down through his pants, into the frame of the car, so he would be centered on the.
So he's
van.
Perfectly safe.
Yeah,
exactly.
Wired to the roof of a van.
But now that we went through that, I know we have more Teen Wolf stuff to cover, briefly, because there's been other Teen Wolf things happen after Michael J. Fox's stint as Scott Howard.
Well, I want to kind of close out on Teen Wolf, the original. I mean, is Teen Wolf worth a rental?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, what do you think?
I don't know. I was pointed out that I gave it the wrong rating last time, so I'll give it yes. I would definitely rent this movie, Mikey P.
Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, it's fun. Maybe don't watch it with little kids because it's got some raunchiness in there that you wouldn't maybe expect. But yeah, for any older person, if you grew up in the 80s, definitely.
I would definitely say it's worth the rental.
Wasn't this another one of those 80s movies rated PG?
I think it's 13. I'd have to double check.
Was it 13?
But I could be wrong. But I mean, it's definitely, it has its raunch to it, but I think it would be suitable for a teenager for sure. I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
most definitely.
I know of teenagers
who
are watching Rick and Morty nowadays, and that's got some way worse shit in it than Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm not knocking on Rick and Morty. I love Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Pickle Rick's pretty fun.
But I think we all agree it was worth the rental, and I'm glad I saw it when I was a kid. I'm glad it's not one of those that I saw when I was an adult.
Yeah, me too.
So, but to go to where Jason is, I there is a sequel. Usually we like to talk about, would this movie benefit from a remake, which in a sense they've kind of done if you want to talk about the TV show, which Jason is a big fan of.
Yeah, I love the Teen Wolf series on MTV. It was
Oh, really?
It was.
I've never seen any of
I mean, they of course, like most TV shows, there's some bad seasons, and I think toward the end they kind of just ended it abruptly, but it was a great cast in that again, like perfect casting for Styles in the movie. The Styles character that they cast in the TV show, was his name Dylan O'Brien? Yeah, I mean that kid's gone on to do other things, and he was great. Like if you watch that show, nobody could have played Styles in the TV show other than that kid. And the Tyler Posey actor that played Scott he did a great job too. I mean, it was a lot different. There was no basketball or nothing like that. They went more just for this. A kid gets bitten. He's not like born into it. He becomes a werewolf, and then it goes on from there, and these wild, crazy things of monsters and werewolf hunters. So it's totally different, but they just use some names from the Teen Wolf movie. That's basically all that really ties the two together, is just the names of the characters.
So how's 2 work?
So I did watch Teen Wolf 2.
It's a different kid, right? It's a different character.
It is.
Yes.
It's Jason Bateman, actually.
Yeah, I knew that, but he's not Scott.
Yeah, he's the cousin. He's his cousin.
Okay, I got you.
So I had never seen it. I decided I'd watch it for this so we could touch on it briefly. I think Jason had seen it before.
Oh, I've seen it several times.
I don't think, Jenny, you hadn't seen it before.
I had not. Mm-mm.
So it is really weird to see Jason Bateman that young.
He's so little.
And you want to talk about ADR. There's some bad ADR in that, too. Like, there's some of the things that they did where Jason Bateman is talking, and it is not Jason Bateman talking.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of hear that he was...
It's like an old Jamaican lady.
Not quite that bad, but...
No.
I'm a Teen Wolf. No, that was not Jamaican. I'm going to avoid trying to do.
Good idea. Stick to what you're good at.
Yeah.
But it's boxing in this movie instead of basketball.
Yeah.
And Jason Bateman is there on an athletic scholarship, but he wants to be a scientist.
He's a science geek. Yeah.
Yep. And so there's another stupid girl in this movie where she's smart and pretty, and she's just fallen head over heels for Jason Bateman. And the second that he becomes a werewolf, just kicks her to the curb like yesterday's trash, and she keeps coming back.
Yeah. It's really the same formula.
It is the exact same.
But
formula.
it is.
But it's very boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it is not a great sequel at all.
they obviously they knew they weren't going to get Michael J. Fox back for it, but there is a connection to Michael J. Fox because you have Jason Bateman, his sister Justine Bateman was on Family Ties, so you kind of want to, you got to think maybe that was.
There you go.
Jason Bateman can't.
They're in
be,
the same circle.
Yeah, he can't be too upset because it got him a job in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which I would love to. I would love to do an interview with Jason Bateman now and be like, so let's talk about Teen Wolf 2.
Yeah. And going back to the makeup we're talking about in part 1 where we were being kind of harsh, even though I loved it, but his makeup in this movie, you can tell it's just like a foam piece they just stuck on his face. It's not as
he does
good
not
as
he does
the
not make an
original.
attractive werewolf.
No.
He is no Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, but wasn't in the reason that he actually gets the scholarship because isn't it the basketball coach is now the boxing coach, or it's either they know that.
I don't think it's the same coach, but we have your same coach that is not into doing anything because he only gets paid $28,000 a year, and they actually they say that at the beginning of the movie. This one they hammer everything over your head in the second one, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it turns out that the dean of the school is the one who gave him the athletic scholarship, or is it the boxing coach?
It was the dean.
Okay, the dean gave him the scholarship because he thought he might be a teen wolf and could do for their athletic program what Scott Howard did,
Because they definitely reference Scott in it, and Scott's dad is like, you have
he takes him to school.
Yeah, you have two things from the first one back in this one. You have Scott's dad, which is the uncle of Jason Bateman, which is kind of weird, just so they could have a connection. Stiles is a character in this one, but it's not the same actor. And oh my God, they should have just not had Stiles in the movie.
Yeah,
this dude does not live up to it at all.
But Chubbs made it.
But Chubb's in it.
Yeah, Chubbs is in it. Mm-hmm.
So I think if you could say anybody other than Michael J. Fox went on to have a good career, it would have been Chubb, because he's been in a few movies.
Yep.
I can't say that for everybody that was in Teen Wolf.
No.
But I mean, if I was going to say, is it worth the rental?
I probably would skip it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. If you watch the first one, you're going to get the same thing out of it and have more fun with the first one. Yeah. So.
But I do have one more to add.
What?
There was an animated cartoon of Teen Wolf also.
I never saw it.
I remember that being on TV. I think it only aired for like a season or two. I think it was like 1986 or something. There was actually an animated cartoon of Teen Wolf also. Because, I mean, the movie was actually a hit for back then. I mean, even with Back to the Future in the theaters and everything, it was actually a hit, a success for everybody involved. So they were just trying to milk more money out of it. So.
Sure. And they did that a lot, making cartoons, of movies in the 80s and 90s.
Ghostbusters,
for sure.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted.
MC Hammer.
John Candy.
Now, surprisingly, I didn't have this in my notes. I don't know if anybody else did, and we completely skipped out on this.
Oh, no.
But there's let's talk about the garage scene.
Oh my God! How did we just blank that out of our minds?
I think we did.
We did. How did that not come up? Okay, so
we
this is problematic.
We got hung in the whole conversation of him changing into the werewolf and nobody making a comment about it. But I'm like, the first person to see him is Stiles, and Stiles just looks at him like, "Oh, hey, you're a werewolf."
Yeah,
he should be shitting his pants.
Yeah, he's free. And then that actor plays that scene very well. I believe he's kind of freaked out in the moment. But you want to talk about something that doesn't age well, and unfortunately, this is prime for 80s movies that we're probably going to get into a lot. But
Yeah, a lot of the things on the list are gonna
yeah,
break this rule, but
like, he's like, "Are you going to tell me you're a fag?" Like, doesn't go over too well
No.
nowadays.
I'm not a fag. I'm a werewolf.
Yeah.
Is what he is his response to that. Oh boy, because I mean, they don't. I'm obviously the word is insensitive and people don't talk like that now, but it doesn't seem like they're like it. I don't get the feeling that Styles would have a problem if he was gay.
Right.
No, it's his best friend.
Yeah, like he doesn't. I don't. It doesn't feel judgmental. He just asks him if that's just the word he uses. So I don't know that the movie's being insensitive, other than just a word that has gone out of style at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, not a nice term to use, but
yeah, because he even says there, like, hey, if that's what you're going to tell me, I don't know if I can handle it right now. But he's not saying I couldn't handle it. He says just not right now. But that's the good thing. Styles is like, hey, if you are, I'm cool, but not right now. I'm looking for this stash, and I really need to get my buzz on here.
Yeah.
But
I don't get the feeling that Styles would have any kind of problem.
No, he would be very accepting.
He's a very accepting young man.
Yeah.
I mean, look at those pants. He's a very bright colored person.
But yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit because it does.
Yeah,
it does feel a little out of place nowadays. But again, we have to think about it as different times. I mean, you think about Blazing Saddles nowadays, which we could get into in the future, but that one's uncomfortable to watch for me nowadays.
Yeah, there's some movies like that now.
So, but that's all I really got on Teen Wolf. Unless anybody else has got anything else, any notes that we didn't get to, or
no, we hit everything for me.
Oh,
I think.
But on the outro, we really need to take some of the coach's advice for everybody listening out there. Remember this, because he's like a saint. I mean, you follow what the coach says, but his 3 rules, remember in the end, is always get 12 hours of sleep, never play cards with the guy with the first name of a city, and never date a woman with a dagger on her body.
A tattoo of a dagger.
A tattoo of a dagger on. I mean, rules to live by in life, and I think people take that to heart.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Get some sleep.
Good rules.
I mean, if a guy's got the name of a city, he's probably can play some cards really well. And women with daggers on their bodies, it's probably not going to turn out too well. So
what you got, Portland? I don't know, Dallas. What you got?
Exactly. So.
I love.
The coach
that's
is
another
great.
thing in the sequel is they try to play the coach the same way, and it's a different actor. The jokes don't hit. He's very just bleh. I would have loved that. Could have made that movie a little bit better if they could have got him in there throwing his things, because they do actually try to do more with the coach in the second movie, and it would have been better if they would have got the same actor. I think.
Yeah, coachisms.
But and as far as the ugly duckling thing goes, like you were talking about with Boof earlier, Eric, they do that a little bit more with the female. In the second one, she's very prim and proper. She's got the glasses. She's kind of nerdy looking, but you look at her and you go, this girl is not bad looking at all.
She's pretty.
No,
Just-
definitely
they're
not.
just making her look dowdy.
Yeah, and I know Eric hasn't seen this movie, but just letting you know, since we're both sports fans, it's like he's on this boxing scholarship, and now that he's winning, the dean is buying him like Corvettes and everything. The school would be under investigation.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an
kid who
NCAA
has no
violation.
movie driving around in a Corvette, and he's got like a Rolex on and a nice purple suit.
Well, everyone does it anyway. I mean,
True.
all the Alabama guys drive
University of
Dodge
Miami.
Chargers somehow. Everyone on the team drives a Dodge Charger. No one knows why. Brand new Dodge Charger.
Enough sports ball. Josh is not a fan.
Well, that was a big thing about this movie is the basketball that was in it did entertain me. I mean, I can watch basketball and football and be entertained. I'm just not a nut about it. I have no idea who coaches and players are. I can just watch the game and enjoy it, but I'm not one to get really into sports.
Right.
So, but
Just give me a good football movie, and that's all the
all
sports
day.
I need.
we can talk some football movies on.
We
the
will.
podcast,
We should do a whole evening of sports movies, like Remember the Titans and stuff like that.
Necessary Roughness. Remember that one?
Yes.
Scott Bakula
and Sinbad.
and Sinbad. Yeah,
I love that
Sinbad.
movie.
The Replacements is another good one.
Ah, yes.
Waterboy, of course.
Rudy.
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 Gotta have Rudy.
Well,
So-
that would fit in our time frame.
All right. Well, I mean, as far as reminiscing about Teen Wolf, that about does it. So we did release our first podcast out to the world. Actually, this past Friday when we're recording this, and gotten some pretty good response on it. So we're definitely happy to be doing another one and keeping it going for everybody out there. And I did get some feedback that they really did like our staff picks in the first episode. So that's definitely something that we're going to keep running with. So it's time for staff picks.
Staff picks.
Staff picks.
Staff picks.
So I'll go ahead and start this week's. I want to go ahead and give a shout out, and my staff pick is a podcast that I've been listening to lately. A good friend of mine does it with a friend of his. It's called Two Drinks and a Haunting. It's my friend Nathan and his friend Victoria, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The premise is they have a few drinks and they go back and talk about news articles and things from the past or present about hauntings or weird paranormal stuff, murders, and to listen to them have a few drinks and talk about it is a great time. I've caught myself laughing out loud a few times listening to these guys. So
yeah, Nathan is definitely a character for sure.
And that is a good segue into our next week. Nathan is actually going to be on the podcast next week. So I wanted to give him a shout out for his podcast this week, and I have been listening to it and enjoying it. But he will be sitting in with us next week when we do the movie that I will announce after everybody else is done with their staff picks. So we will have our first guest next week as well. So Jenny,
very exciting.
Jenny, what's your staff pick of the week?
My staff pick is Animal Crossing. I'm not a video game person, but this has saved me in quarantine.
I told her she was leading a double life now.
I am, because you know what?
And your Animal Crossing life is better.
It is. My house is paid off in Animal Crossing, and I got 10 million bells in the bank. So I wish I had 10 million in the bank. That'd be real nice. But it's just, with everything that's insane out there, somehow being on your own private island with a group of animals who are your friends, and your only job is to make the island better for them and catch bugs and fish and shoot balloons out of the sky. I mean, it's not a bad life, and it really has calmed me in these times that we're having. So I would recommend it to anyone, even if you're not a video game player, because I definitely wasn't, and this is still the only video game I play, and I'm very happy with it.
That's awesome.
Oh, let's see. Like Josh, I'm going to give a shout out to a friend of mine and a friend of the show, Davina Rush. She is a author and an artist who wrote a few books. You can find them on Amazon.com, but right now she has a new book out called Haunted Dolls. It's in a coloring book, but it goes
terrifying.
It's right up Jenny's. I actually have a copy coming to you right now. I'm just kidding. But it is literally she took.
It's under your chair, Jenny.
It's actually under your chair.
She's looking under her chair as we speak.
But she went through and researched all the haunted doll stories of the United States and around the world, and drew actual pictures and gave stories about these dolls. So you can actually go in as an adult or a child if you're into haunted dolls and color them and everything. I mean, you have the Annabelle doll and a few of the other, more known and lesser known things. So it's actually, you can learn something if you're into that paranormal thing. And she also has another book called Classic Horror, where she does the old classic horror movie stuff like the Mummy and Count Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, but they're coloring books, so they're good for children or adults. But that's cool. You can find her information on DavinaRush.com and buy her books on Amazon.com. I'd definitely give it a try if you just want something to do. Wait, kill a couple hours coloring some cool monsters. So
awesome.
Eric,
Sounds
what
good.
you got?
Well, I want to recommend the Film Junk podcast, which obviously is a pretty well-known movie podcast. I think. I don't know where they stand in the in the whole thing. Maybe it's too popular of a thing to shout out on our little thing here, but I've been listening to those guys for probably, over 10 years. It's been my most consistent favorite podcast, and they talk about movies and
nice Canadian boys.
Yeah, they're great. So recommend that. And then I'm also going to recommend Annie Chun's roasted seaweed snacks. I'm going to give a little crinkle for the audio here.
ASMR.
ASMR.
Just eat the snacks. There's seaweed. And these are wasabi flavor. They're delicious.
For real?
They are like little flat, dried sheets of seaweed. I'm going to put this down so it stops crinkling. And
they're good.
They are delicious, and you can sit and eat the whole pack, and it's like eating air. It's like it's almost like it just falls apart in your mouth. It's delicious. It's a delicious treat.
Okay.
Well, I can't say much for this.
And I'm not getting paid for that endorsement.
I can't say much for the seaweed, but I can second the Film Junk podcast. Those guys are a blast to listen to, and sometimes they drive me nuts, but I still listen to them regularly. They're great little podcast to listen to if you like movies. They review current stuff, and they'll do their background episodes and review older movies and whatnot. But yeah, I can second that for sure. But yeah, I think that'll do it for episode number 2 of the VHS Files podcast.
All right.
So we're gonna.
What do we got next week, Josh?
Next week we are going to be talking a true classic.
Drum roll.
Who are you gonna call? We're gonna be talking Ghostbusters next week.
Yes.
If there is a movie I can talk about for a very long time, it's definitely Ghostbusters. It has
I can't wait.
So many
excited.
childhood memories behind it for me. So
the first 4-hour episode of the VHS Files,
and it's one of those movies that resonates with a lot of people. And again, like I said, our friend Nathan from the 2 Drinks and a Haunting podcast will be on with us next week. He actually requested a seat on the panel for this one because he's got plenty to say about Ghostbusters and was very excited when I told him we were doing it. So again, check out 2 Drinks and a Haunting podcast. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find them. Same with us now. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, or at least the main. At this point, the top 2 were up there. We're still working on the others, but we will be wherever you can get your podcast from any sort of platform. We'll be on Google and everything pretty soon, but you can get us on Apple. You can get us on Spotify. And we're really happy to be doing this for everybody, and we love the feedback we've been getting. So we're going to continue to do it for you guys as best we can. Absolutely. So we're having a blast doing this. So that'll be it for us for this week. We'll be back next week with Ghostbusters, and we're going to leave you with what we leave you with at the end of every show. Be kind. Rewind.
Bye.
Later.
Goodbye.
It's over. You've been listening to the VHS Files podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast. Email us your comments, questions, and movie suggestions at the.vhsfiles@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook at VHS Files Podcast, on Instagram at VHS.files, on Twitter at VHS_files. And head over to our YouTube channel at the VHS Files Podcast for more content. Thanks for listening.
Oh man, that was good. Did you guys feel good about that?
Yeah. She fell asleep.
Oh, sorry I had to run out on you guys.